Okay, this is confession time. I have a confession. Something you don't know about me. And it's going to be part one. This is part one of my confession. My confession is I am homeless. I went to Africa in 2020. Stayed there for about 10 and a half months. After I had lost my job due to the pandemic. And I said, F it. I always wanted to go. I saved my money. And I took off. I went solo. Long story short, met a lot of genuine people there. And now I'm back over here in the United States of America. And yeah, I've been going pillar to post, living with family and friends until I get my own place. What is your confession? Okay, this is my confession time part 2 video. Okay, I just wanted to let you guys know homeless is real. It's not all the time you looking for a person to be sleeping under a bridge or under a tree or dressing with raggedy clothes on or whatever. That's not it, okay? This is the real world. And you have people that may be homeless, and that don't mean just because they're not sleeping on a bridge or outside in their car that they're not homeless. And it's not a bad word. I know a lot of people are embarrassed about it, ashamed to talk about it, but it's a jungle out here, and it's real. And so we just have to face the fact that, you know, things happen. So when I chose to, after I lost my job, I chose to take a trip to the motherland. I didn't have anything to lose, you know. And so it was a chance of a lifetime, you know. And some people say, well, if you know what you know now, going to the motherland and coming back and not having a place to stay, they ask me would I still have went. And my answer is yes, 100 times 100, yes. Because that was always my dream. Anyway, so I didn't have anything to lose. I sold everything in my apartment, my furniture, clothes, everything. I sold my car, and at that time prior to that, I had 2 jobs that I was working, and I was already, you know, making plans to take this trip, this journey. Didn't know exactly when I was going to be able to take it. Didn't know it was going to be that soon. So when I put in my notice at my apartment, they did put that on my credit and everything. I only had like 1 month left, and I paid for the full month like a month before I got ready to leave. I put in my notice like maybe 60-day notice, and long story short, then, you know, it still went against me. But like I say, I'm going to be talking more about, this is not my first time being homeless. I've stayed in cars. I've stayed with people that helped me in the past, and it was a beautiful thing, but it ended up being like a sad thing. Yeah, and so don't knock anybody, you know. I just want to encourage people, whatever your story or your confession may be, don't be afraid to share it. It's a growth. You just never know who you may help. Confession time. Someone asked a question of how long have I been homeless, and coming up July, the middle part of July, it would be 1 year. Yes, I'm on this path. I had a dream a couple of days ago that I had, you know, shared, and I saw I was flying, and it was a beautiful thing. And I heard a voice speak and say, "Stay on the path." So I don't know exactly where this path is leading me, or this journey, spiritual journey that I'm on is leading me. But while I'm on this journey, I just want to be positive, and I want to share my story. And I want people to know that it's okay to be up today and down tomorrow. Don't let nobody make you feel bad about what you're going through, your story. But just, you know, stay grounded, stay meditated, and be around positive people, because the energy is real. Trust me. What's your confession? Confession time. Okay, I'm going to be speaking about the first time I was homeless, which was in 2010. What had happened was I was in the process of, relocating, getting out of an abusive marriage. And so, anywho, and I'm going to also be telling more about that as well. But I just want to focus right now on the part, like the different times when I was like homeless and what was the outcome of each situation. So anyway, I was in this town called Temple, Texas, and I was looking for a place, and at the time I didn't find a place like right away, so I stayed at a couple of motels. I was looking for a job as well. So I met this young lady. Her name was Catherine. She was at the bank. I think it was at a bank or a savings along or something like the credit union. But anywho, I was asking for direction. So when I was asking for direction, she, was giving me direction of where I was trying to get to, because I was asking about a place. Long story short, we exchanged numbers, and she gave me her number, and she was like, at that time I was in the church, and she asked me could she pray for me. At that time I told her yeah, we prayed and everything back then, and just a very genuine, sweet lady. And so she was a nurse, and so we exchanged numbers, and she told me after I find that place and get the information to call her at any time. So I think I called her like the next day. I was staying in a motel, and so I called her, and so she met me, and she invited me into her home to stay. This is someone, remind you, that didn't know me. I didn't know that person, and we just connected, right? And so anywho, I met her daughter. I stayed with her, and at the time I was staying with her, I had got a job, because prior to that I was staying in a shelter, and I stayed in a shelter for about maybe like 3 weeks. And so I got a job. I think I got this job at the time I was in the shelter, and so I'm gonna have to break this up in segments, so time running out. So after I got this job, I stayed with her. So I was working for a school cafeteria, and so in Greene, Texas. Okay, so where I left off, I got the job in Greene, Texas, working for a school. Met a lot of beautiful, genuine people, friends that I work with, co-workers. And so at that time I was staying with the lady I met, which was became a friend of mine, and it was just like family. And so anywho, she had told me that, she was, into church real heavy. And at that time she told me that God had showed her that I was supposed to stay with her for like 3 months. And so, but me personally, I've always wanted my own place. I've always been independent and pretty much been on my own. And so I'm pretty much showing her appreciation, just telling her thank you. But I was saying to myself, hopefully I wouldn't have to stay that long, because I just love my privacy and love just being on my own. And but still grateful. And so anyway, I stayed with her. And so when I stayed with her, at that time, it wasn't that full 3 months, but so I was working, driving myself back and forth to work and everything. And I met a co-worker that I was working with. We became close, and I was kind of telling her my situation. And so she was like, and I was having a lot of dreams at the time, and so I would tell her a dream, and so she was like, well, you got to get out of there, and so anywho, it was just some things that I was seeing that took place in the home that I was living in, pertaining to the daughter and the mother. And the daughter was very very hyper, and it was just the way she treated her mom. So I kind of like went through a lot, and I always been the type of person, I always try to intervene and help. If I see someone like having a problem or something like that, I'm always there. I try to be there so that person has someone to talk to about the situation. And so I kind of like intervene and seen some things and tried to talk to the daughter and everything, and she would really open up to me, but her connection with her mom wasn't good at all. And I just couldn't understand why someone would, speak of their mother like this, especially when her mother gave her everything, her and her other siblings. And anyway, so I told my friend, and she told me that I'm gonna put you up in a motel. And so there I go again, staying at another motel. But I also, continue to stay there with her, and in the process of still, getting prepared to get my own place. So as I continue, after I stayed in the hotel, I went back to my friend's house and stayed as well with her. But you know how sometimes you want your privacy, so what I would do, like on the weekend or maybe when school was out, like for the spring break or something like that, I would get in my vehicle and I would go to a certain area and I would just park under this tree. And I would stay out there. It was some property, land that belonged to someone that I knew, and where they had cows and everything out there in the pasture and everything. But I would stay out there. I did my little meditation and praying or whatever, and I stayed out there. I slept in my car. I'm talking about for a few nights. And, I would sometimes leave from there, go, kind of like down towards town because it was out a little bit, and get water, had little snacks and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where I ended up staying. I stayed in my car for a few days. And then, so I finally, I returned back to her again and stayed with her. So in the process while I was staying there, I was having these dreams, right? And, like I say, a very, very beautiful home. And so I had this dream. So once again, she was a person that she taught piano lessons. So people was coming in and out of her house, children and grown-ups. And that I got a chance to be very nice. Everybody was nice. And so when I had this dream, I was just kind of disturbed because I'm like, why would I even see this, And one night, her phone was going off, and I was trying to realize, why she wasn't answering the phone. So I went, and her phone was in her office, in the piano room. And so, and I was going to, let her know her phone was ringing, but it was like after hours, and I had to go to work. So I seen the light on up under her door, so I'm like, okay. Knocked on the door, and she had the door barricade. So I was trying to figure out why would she have the door barricade. So the next morning, I'm gonna say morning because that's what I said back then. But the next rising when I woke up, I had asked her what was going on with everything behind the door, like the chairs and stuff. Who was she not trying to let in? Who was she afraid of? And so we talked on that, So I'm trying to, like I say, tell, my story, but I got to break it up in pieces because of the time I have. So y'all just bear with me because this story is really going to lead to what I went through and what happened in the end. But anywho, after I told her, Catherine, the dream that I had that morning, after trying to figure out why her door was barricaded, and it was pertaining to her daughter. And so she told me at the time, before I can even finish the dream, she said, what did you see? She said, did you see where she killed me? And I was just like, I couldn't say anything. I was just like, in my mind, how did she know? But that was the dream. And pretty much, I know it sounds, to me, it just gave me chills because I'm thinking, no. Because back then, I was like, the devil is a lie. We're going to, turn this, we're going to bind it, we're going to send it back to the senders or whatever, because like I say, I just couldn't see that happening. And so anywho, she was like, well, I'm not worried about her, and called her name and said she was going to let God take care of her. But me personally at the time, all I could feel is, if you're getting that kind of disrespect in your home, from your own child, then it's time for a separation, because it's just not good. It's not healthy. And so anywho, that's the part where I was trying to tell y'all. When I went to work, I mentioned the dream to my coworker, and at that time she put me up in a hotel. So I was kind of like back and forth. So long story short on that, I ended up getting my own place, which was like about, I didn't stay the 3 months. I stayed at her house, I think it was 2 months. 2 months and a little bit over 2 months, like maybe two months and a week. So remind you, she said that God showed her I was going to be there for 3 months, but I had another dream that I saw at that time, that I was being pulled away from the house, like real fast, like someone came and pulled me away and put me in my car. And when they put me in my car, I was running. They was pretty much running with me to my car, and I ran to the car, and they put me in the car and closed the door. And then I looked back as I was driving off, and when I looked back, I seen crime scene tape around the house, like yellow, all around the house. Okay, and so prior to that, I had witnessed a lot of this behavior problems, heard a lot of things, seen a lot of things. A lot of time I would try to intervene to try to, diffuse the situation. A lot of time the young lady, she would listen to me before she would listen to her own mother. So I would talk to her, she would calm down sometime. But it had got pretty bad, and so the police was called out, before, and she barricaded herself, in her room, wouldn't let them come in. I had to tell them what had happened, what I had witnessed. So at that time, I was like, what? Yeah, it's time to go. And so after that, going back and forth to stay in my car in different places, I finally got an apartment. So I ended up moving in my apartment. So I'm going to have to, like I say, break this up to tell you guys the story. But I've been through a lot, A lot of times people don't realize when you homeless, you don't know why you in somebody's life. You could be in that person's life for a purpose, for a reason, You may not understand it at that time, or why I'm going this path. But then when it all comes down to it, when different things take place, you realize you're there for a reason. It's not like you just all of a sudden say, well, hey, I want to be like this so I can, figure out, what's going to happen, what's going to take place before I, get my own place. But like I say, I feel like the Creator, the universe, God, He put people in our life for a reason. We go on these different journeys for a reason. You never know who you might be able to speak up for. But once I get through sharing this video, not so much this video, but the whole story, y'all gonna understand why I was put in this particular person's life, and it was for a reason. So you never know until you have to go through it. And so, like I said, I'm going to have to try to break all these videos up so I can tell the story. And so you guys can understand. Sometimes being homeless, you may be helpful to someone else. And you never know what the situation may be or why you in that situation at that time. You may be a mouthpiece. Okay, so this is part 8 of my confession of when I was homeless and what I had to endure, what I went through at the time. So I was living still with Catherine, okay, around this time. So shortly after that, I found my own place. I told her that I was going to be moving out, And she was very sad. She didn't want me to go. But she was happy for me. And so, but remind you, she had told me that God had told her that I was going to be there for 3 months, which I wasn't there simply because of the dream that, I had, the dream I had, and that I shared with her that was disturbing. So, and it was just showing that it was time for me to go. So anyway, I found my own place and was working at the time. And so I got a call from her, Catherine, and she told me that she asked for my address, and she told me she was coming over. She bought me a housewarming gift. We got a chance to catch up, big hugs, laughed. I was so happy to see her. She was happy to see me. She told me that she had put her daughter out, Gwendolyn, and so anyway, I told her she did the right thing. Don't feel bad about it. And so because of her, the way she was treating her and the way, things was going on at the house. And so anyway, I told her I would come and see her, later. So I think it was about three weeks after she saw me, I went to visit her. And then I visited her, got a chance to see her daughter. It was a lot of things that was said and took place at the time I was there. And so after that, I end up, coming back to my place. So I'm just going to estimate, I think it was probably about, after the last time I visited Catherine, it might have been maybe 3 months later that I was in the kitchen and I was cooking. And I came in the living room and I was sitting on my sofa. I was watching television, and I saw where they flashed on the news, her car called the daughter name, and yeah, very disturbing. I just couldn't believe it. I was in denial, almost went into shock. I couldn't hardly breathe. I fell to the floor. Yeah, she actually killed her mom. So I'm gonna tell you, this was the hardest thing for me for a long time. Okay, so this is part 9 of where I left off from part 8. Yeah, where I saw on the television where the daughter picture, they put it up, flashed up on the news. Catherine car flashed up on the news. I saw it, and yeah, what I saw, like I say, I was devastated. I was in shock. I was crying. I was a mess. So I really couldn't believe what I had just seen. When it's something like that, you're watching TV and you see that, and then it's a person that that you live with or whatever. So I couldn't sleep for for weeks and months. So it really took a toll over me. And so anywho, like I said, I called my daughter, and she was telling me, Mom, you're going to have to be her mouthpiece. Which I already knew that, because I felt it so strong in my heart that I'm going to have to speak for Catherine. And so I called to the police department and everything, and because I was trying to verify it too. It's like, okay, I know I'm not crazy. Am I really seeing this on the television? And so it was all confirmed that it was, true. So they started asking me questions. And so long story short, I was called in, and so I had to go in and pretty much tell them what I saw, what took place while I was there. And then they told me what happened. And they also had shared it on the news, but they didn't tell everything on the news. But when I got there, they, had to record me and everything. And so they pretty much told me what had happened after they got all the information from me. But I think they were just trying to make sure, they have to investigate to make sure you didn't have a part to do with anything. And so they showed me pictures and everything. They showed me weapons. I'm telling you guys, it was terrible what I seen. But anywho, yes, she actually, ambushed her mom. And I knew the routines of her coming in, her getting off from work, and she did too. And the daughter broke in through the house, through the back door and through the window, and broke in and waited on her to get off from work. And her boyfriend, they killed her and put her in the trunk. So this is part 10. After I spoke with the detective, they called me in. I went in, and then they pretty much told me that I was going to have to go to court. I was going to have to sit on trial. I was going to have to be a witness, which, I mean, I didn't mind because I knew that I was going to have to be her mouthpiece. And so I was nervous, never been on a witness stand before, and so for anything. And so anyway, I was glad to do it, so I did it. Got there, asked me questions. I saw her, got a chance to hear, everything that took place again. Saw her. She never made eye contact with me. She pretty much told what she did, and I had to hear it again, and then I had to speak. So she pretty much told them that she, waited till she got off from work. She broke in through the window, come in the house, waited till she got off from work, and then they ambushed her. Her and this white guy, supposed to be his boyfriend, he was an ex-con as well, and so we don't know how that took place, but anywho, she pretty much said that they ambushed her, beat her in the head, wrapped up with tape, put her in the car. The guy drove the car, and they was going to take her off in the woods to set on fire so nobody could find her. And so what happened was Catherine was still alive in the trunk, and she made a sound, and they panicked. And they panicked and lost control, started driving fast and lost control of the vehicle, and it flipped. The vehicle flipped, and she broke her leg. He had some kind of major injuries or whatever. It broke up, and then she called 911, pretty much told them that she just set her mama on fire. So she poured gas on her, knowing that she was alive, in the trunk of the car, and set the whole car on fire. And told what she was planning on doing. But like I say, I knew I had to be her mouthpiece. And you never know what a person go through. Sometimes you put in people's life for a reason. It's a journey, it's a path that you go on when you connect with people. And so you can verify this. Catherine Greene, Gwendolyn Greene. She's in Gateville. Okay, so this is part 11 of what I went through during my period of being homeless. And it was more to what took place, but I just wanted to share this to let people know you never know why you are in the predicament that you may be in, or like I say, up today and down tomorrow. You never know the path of the journey that you are traveling, who you may help. Like I did, I was a mouthpiece. I wouldn't have thought in a million years that such tragedy would happen, that I would actually be a part of speaking for someone to, pretty much tell a portion of their story as well as tell my story. So if a person is going through, even if they're not homeless, anything you're going through and you have a story, don't be afraid to, confess it. Just tell what happened to you, in your own way. Don't be forced, but just tell it when you feel it's right for you, or you led by spirit guides to tell it. Just like me, I'm 57 now, and everybody may say, well, why are you just not telling it? Because I'm inspired to tell it now. So if I'd have tried to tell it any other time, then maybe I wouldn't have been like, prepared or ready. So sometimes it could be things that happen in your life, maybe just because of what I'm going through now, of like, being homeless, not having my own place. Like I say, you don't have to be, under a bridge or raggedy clothes or anything like that, to be homeless. So anywho, helicopter flying on. And so anywho, okay. And so anywho, like I say, you can look it up. Catherine Greene, Gwendolyn Greene, Copperas, Cove, Texas. Yeah. And I'm so happy to have been her mouthpiece to speak of what I witnessed, that justice be served for Catherine Greene. And I know a lot of people may say, this or that, but it don't make no difference. I did my part, and I was happy to do it. So rest in love, peace, and power, Catherine Greene. Ashe.